Following hot on the heels of the rumours that came out a couple of days ago about Apple Silicon MacBooks, we now have specs for potentially a 13-inch MacBook Pro, also running ARM Silicon. So let's have a look at what we're going to get here. It's surprising how fast these rumours are coming now. It's the same source, so check him out on Twitter. I'll put the link down in the comments here on YouTube. But we have some information on what potentially is going to be coming in the next Apple MacBook Pro with Apple Silicon to replace the current Intel MacBooks that we've been used to for years. The last 15 years we've been using Intel. So what have we got to come? So according to this leak coming in October this year, or at least being announced in October, and I think the rumour is that it will ship in November or December, we're looking at a MacBook Pro 13-inch, so it doesn't look like they're changing the display or the form factor, although they've done that with the 15-inch going up to a 16-inch with smaller bezels. It looks like it's going to stay with the same form factor, at least to begin with. Apple Silicon A14X based chip, which is the same as the MacBook, or the option for Intel chips. So perhaps they're going to introduce two versions, an ARM version and also an Apple Silicon version, which at least to begin with, people will have the option of both. If you still need to use something like Boot Camp, the Intel option will be the better option. However, it looks like virtualization might well be a way that you can run Intel-based or at least Windows-based programs using this. And also there was rumours that I heard the other day about a cloud service that basically lets you rent a Windows computer. Cool, so next up, RAM. You're going to have 8, 16 or 32 gigabyte options. 32 gigabytes with an ARM processor is going to be pretty crazy. That's going to be pretty powerful for multitasking. Obviously if you're doing your video renders and things like that, that's going to make a big difference, especially if you're multitasking with multiple windows going. Obviously, if you want to render in the background while you're also doing other tasks, very useful to have that option. SSDs, so storage-wise, we're going to have 256, 512, 1, 2 and 4 terabyte options, which is pretty huge. Especially when it's probably only going to go to 512 or maybe 1 terabyte on the MacBook line. It's really impressive that we're going to be able to have up to 4 terabytes of storage on this one. Now, there's one thing here that I'm not 100% sure on. So it says that we get 4 USB-C ports, which makes sense based on the current 13-inch MacBook Pro chassis. 2 or 4 of those can be Thunderbolt 3 ports. Now the rumours so far have suggested that there won't be any Thunderbolt 3, but USB-C Type 4 is what they'll be going for, which kind of incorporates the Thunderbolt 3 standards. So I'm not 100% sure on that part, but that's what the rumour here says. Magic Keyboard. Now that's going to be key, and that's going to be if there's one kind of segment of this that's going to convince a lot of people to trade up from the MacBook up to the MacBook Pro, it might well be that they get the Magic Keyboard as opposed to the Butterfly keyboard. I think the Butterfly, the 4th generation that's going to be in the MacBook line, is going to be fine for people that are doing very light work on it, using it more as a consumption device. But if you want to get real work done, unless Apple has really managed to nail that Butterfly switch keyboard that has come in for so much hatred, and deservedly so over the past few years, trading up to the MacBook Pro line with that Magic Keyboard that's got a little bit more travel and a little bit more reliability to it is going to be a pretty compelling option for a lot of people. It's still going to keep the touch bar, which very much, as I said before, suggests that touch screens are not going to be coming to these Macs straight away. I kind of wish they were. It looks like the interface is being built so that touch screens can be an option down the line. So maybe the iMac will be one of the first ones that gets the touch screen option. Because at the moment, maybe your portable devices will be, if you want a touch screen, you go with the iPad line. If you want a desktop option with touchscreen, then the iMac maybe will be more along the lines of what Microsoft did with their Surface Studio that they brought out a little while ago, that was very highly reviewed, very much iMac-like, but was also able to fold quite flat so that it could be used much more as a kind of drawing tablet. They had some really cool peripherals like colour wheels that you could attach to the screen and things like that. It's going to keep Touch ID. So as again we've mentioned before, Face ID is on the way to Macs. It is there in the code in the Big Sur beta. There are a lot of references to it within the code. However, it doesn't look like it's going to be coming to these first generation of of ARM Macs. So they're keeping the Touch ID sensor on these at the moment, which actually in the current climate, with a lot of people having to wear masks, especially if they're working in cafes, and this might be a reason that it's not coming to the portables, but it will potentially come to that iMac, is that if people are out and about working in cafes, they might have to wear masks for a lot of the time. So using a Touch ID sensor is going to be much more convenient in those circumstances. Proposed price, $10.99, which is what we mentioned at the end of the MacBook video that I did, that I put out yesterday. $10.99 is a $200 reduction again from what's going on at the moment with MacBook Pros. So I think there is definitely an argument here that Intel has been charging a huge amount for their chips, or that the chips at least are making up a very big chunk of the price of the MacBooks so far. This is also going to have fans in it, remember. This is not part of the leak here, but it is going to be fan-led if it's going to be in a MacBook Pro chassis. That means that they're going to get more performance out of the same A14 chip. What will be interesting is if the software is what's limiting it, or if it's actually limited in the MacBook line by thermostats, because if it is by temperature sensors, then there would potentially be an option of being able to somehow cool that chassis better to get better performance out of it, maybe to get the performance up to what you'll be getting in the MacBook Pro 13-inch with Apple Silicon. Don't know, but they will probably have some way of limiting it in software. Maybe it'll be an A14 chip that comes in the MacBook and an A14X or an A14Z in the MacBook Pro line. But what do you think? Which one would you go for? With a $300 difference and potentially exactly the same chips on the inside, would you be going for the MacBook line or the MacBook Pro line? And if you are, is it because of the keyboard? Is it because of the cooling and the potential extra performance? Or what would be your main reason for picking one over the other? I'm really interested to know. Hit me up in the comments below. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to hear more of this, hit the subscribe button. And I'm David for Living on iPad, and I'll see you in the next one.